Hello and welcome to another Writerly Witterings with me, Michael Jakes, the tea drinking author. And I've just had to microwave this to get it up to temperature because it was a bit cold. Today, for those who don't really like pencils, I have 3 brown inks. Very interesting ones. There is Brun from... what is it? They're L'artisan Pastellier. There's Hags, and there is Platinum Sepia, which is one of the, and I've forgotten the name of the firm now. Hold on a sec. Platinum. It's a platinum ink. But I've also got, after that, for those who like pencils, I'm going to be looking at some nice American pencils because there's a great selection. So, I better get on with it really, hadn't I? Okay, so here we go. Blackwing pencils. I'm going to put them to one side for a moment. First of all, let's have a look at inks. Now, I thought it would be extremely tedious for people if I just showed filling a pen and writing. So what I've done is, I've cheated a bit, and I have done 2 of the inks already. So here we've got Sepia from Platinum and Brun from L'Artisan Pastellier. And it's quite interesting, I find. This is William Hanna paper. This is Tomo River 62 GSM. And you can see that it comes across quite differently. Now, I think this Tomo River is the slightly cream version, whereas the William Hanna is bright white. And as you can tell, it does come across much more grey on the white gleaming paper than it does on this slightly creamer paper. But I have to say, the sepia from Platinum I find really rather gorgeous. I did say there that it doesn't seem to have too much in the way of shading. Actually, as soon as I let it dry properly, there is very nice shading in there. The L'Artisan Pastellier, again, white paper. This is Rhodia. You can see here there's very nice shading on both of them. Pen I use, just for those who haven't watched these videos before, this is a TWSBI Go with a 1.1mm stub. It's the ink I use for all of my ink tests because that way you can tell you're doing a direct comparison. And it's also a fabulous pen for reviews because all you have to do, here is the Hags. As you can tell, I'm not going to tip it too far. All you need to do to fill this pen is, just going to make sure I'm not squirting water everywhere because I've just rinsed it out and cleaned it. Press the plunger, put it into your ink, and release the plunger and you're done. That's all you have to do. I just love the simplicity of these pens. They're wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. So, we have now loaded this pen with Hags. So, I will now Hags. And it's from one of my favourite ink suppliers, Akkerman inks from The Hague, and it's a very nice dark brown. It's rather like one, I think, saddle brown from Diamine. Let's try it on the William Hanna paper. Whoops, double A, Hags. The Hague, is it? Hague with an E? I can't remember now. I'll have to look that one up. Now the interesting thing is, again, goes down quite dark and rather like L'Artisan Pastellier, fairly sort of blandly dark, whereas when you write on the creamer paper of Tomo River it comes across much more lively and reddish. So let's just it's hard to write when you're this close to the edge of the desk and your hand wants to fall off. Right, that's all the writing I'm going to do, you'll be relieved to know. So let's just have a quick, before I do anything else, just going to put the lid on the ink bottle before I tip the whole darn lot over my desk and carpet and me and the dogs, as I did last time. I've got to just give you a little bit of a write-up. I was told I was given a little write-up about it by Bart. So it says here, The Hague has two dialects of the city. There's the posh The Hague and the flat Hague. Bekakt Haags is unusually emphasized by exaggerating behavior, especially in speech, that people want to belong to the top layer. The word cock, Kagamer, is a figurine that represents a squatting man who is doing his business, as it were. Very crude. Bekakt Haags therefore appropriately has the colour brown. So apparently this came from the Akkerman website, Akkerman Den Haag, NL/EN for English. But this is Bekakt Haags, which is number 23 in the Akkerman range of inks. And I must admit, looking at these three brown inks, here we go, you've got direct comparison here. I would say all of them are rather lovely. I really like that platinum. That's a gorgeous reddish brown colour. Very, very nice. Especially shows up reddish when you look at the cream paper. Works very well too on the William Hanna and the Rhodia. I am very taken with the... Basically, I like them all, okay? The L'Artisan Pastellier, I think, is a really nice colour. Quite understated, quite sort of pastel in shade. Not very strong as a colour, but it really stands out well on the page. And it does have very nice shading. The one with the least shading is Bekakt Haags, because basically it's such a dark colour it's hard to tell, but you can see if you look at the top of this, what do you call it, this thing here anyway. Parentheses, aren't they? If you look at the top here, it's quite a lot redder and paler than at the bottom, so there is shading, but it's much more graduated than you get with something like, for example, L'Artisan Pastellier. You can see on this D it's got no shading, then suddenly really dark. It shows up better possibly here with the H there, the L, the A, the top. Because I'm writing on a slope here, everything at the top tends to be lighter, everything at the bottom tends to get darker. So look at the A there on the sepia. You don't get so much of that with the Bekakt Haags, but it's still a very pleasant colour. Now I have my notebook here with all the different inks, so let's just have a quick look at them. And I would say the Diamine Sepia is much more orange. Raw Sienna is closer to the Platinum Sepia. It's quite difficult to find something that is comparable, you know. So let's just... Rustic Brown is like a much darker version of Platinum Sepia. And that pretty much is it in terms of the comparison with that. Rustic Brown certainly has that hint of redness. Ochre is much too red for them. So that's actually very nice. That means that of these, I suppose Saddle Brown is not too far off the Bekakt Hugs. Let's just have a look at these ones. Yes, Havana from Waterman is quite similar to the Bekakt Hugs. The dark brown is not too dissimilar, but it's not as reddish. Don't know how well that shows, but the Akkerman certainly seems to be rather more like Diamine's chocolate brown, which is a bit of a surprise. But there's nothing directly comparable. I would say there's nothing whatsoever that's comparable to the L'Artisan Pastellier, which is a very interesting sort of a colour and shade. Let's just have a look at some of these. Diamine Sepia is far too... Maybe it's no butterscotch. Plain Sepia, this is one of the Rohde und Klingner colours. That's sort of like a dark version of L'Artisan Pastellier. Has that same sort of pastel type of effect, but it's more pale. So that's quite an interesting array of different inks there. Personally, I think they're all pretty fabulous. I would say, though, I tend not to go for the darker browns, but that L'Artisan Pastellier, that is very interesting. I really like that, and I love the Platinum Sepia. I won't be buying Platinum Sepia because Platinum inks are very expensive compared to Diamine and L'Artisan Pastellier. So I think L'Artisan Pastellier's Brun could be something that I buy a lot more of. Now, onto the pencils, because as you know, I have a huge number of pencils which I have to look at. This is a delightful selection with one spare eraser or rubber. Now, as I understand it, Estwing was a firm that almost disappeared, but it was one that, or Blackwing, sorry, but it was a firm that was really enthusiastically supported by the likes of Ernest Hemingway. And they are really rather lovely pencils. Now, Bart, thank you very much Bart, gave me a series of descriptions with the different types. We've got, let's see, we've got the matte at the top, which is one of the softer styles apparently. Stay there. And then there's Pearl, which has a balanced lead. Then there's the 602, here we go, which is a firmer version. And we've got the natural, which is extra firm. And then these are tributes to different people. So you've got the Model 10, which is a tribute to Nellie Bly. We've got the 3, which is a tribute to Ravi Shankar. And we've got the 42 Palomino, which is for Jackie Robinson. Gonna keep them. to one side. And now, thanks to the magic of videos, they're sharpened. And they all smell really rather wonderful. Now, what is wonderful about these pencils? I've always found them a little bit of a mystery, I have to admit, because never having used one, never having touched them, they always looked a little bit clumsy with this big eraser section at the top end. But actually, I'm now learning a lot about them. The nice thing about the eraser section is that you can replace the eraser. Not only that, you can decide how far out you want it to stick, which is, nice. But the other thing is, that's much more relevant, you can either use a narrower eraser tip or a broader one, so you can wipe out little thin bits or extra large bits. That is quite a nice little touch. They're a very famous old brand, but I rather like this idea that they have different types of lead. So let's just see how those leads function. So first of all, we'll go with the hardest variety, apparently, the natural. I've found that quite a few, especially German makes, whether it's the Graf von Faber-Castell or the Steidtler or the standard Faber-Castell, seem to be quite a grey lead rather than dark, and I like dark leads. Now I think this is supposed to be an extra firm lead, but it feels really delightfully soft. Interesting. This is the firm. Whoops, 602. Feels very, very smooth and lovely to write with, I have to say. The pearl is definitely getting darker and softer, quite a lot softer. And then this is the soft. Oh, and it is too. You can see how much of the lead has already got worn away there, because that's the interesting thing, is that the softer leads obviously wear away more quickly than the harder leads. So you can tell the difference in the thickness of the line there compared to there. They are really rather nice to work with though. So there you go, you've got some brown coloured inks and you've got some delightful pencils. Very, very nice, all of them. And yes, definitely, I love that Platinum Sepia. I really like the L'Artisan Pastellier's brown. The nice thing about L'Artisan Pastellier, again, is that you can mix their inks. You can mix their inks up so you get whatever type of shade you really want. So I would consider mixing that with a little bit of their yellow perhaps and see how that comes out. Intriguing. But certainly I can quite understand why these are popular. I really, really like the softer leads, which means I'll obviously wear through them a lot faster, but that matte definitely works superbly well. I'm very, very impressed with them. And I do like that clever eraser rubber section so that you can remove the rubber or move it round and you can use it thinly or thickly depending on how you want to. So, good design. Excellent stuff. Right, hope that was interesting. Thanks a lot for watching. If you're interested in supporting the site, you know, you can go to the Patreon link at the bottom. If you want to join the Pen Pals Writing Club, go to the bottom where I've got a link through, and you can write to me and I'll give you a link through to the actual website where you can get connected to other people who are fascinated with the idea of writing with pens. And apart from that, like it, share it, hit the subscribe and then hit the bell button and all that good old stuff. And in the meantime, happy writing, and I'll speak to you shortly. Take care.